Hello, I'm Forshaw, and I've got a problem. I've got a problem. What's my problem? A lot of things lately. Right now, I'm on the road, though, and it's going well. I don't know if it's going. I'm on the road when this comes out, but I'm about to go on the road when I recorded this. So come and see me right now. I am. Where am I right now? That is a good question. When does this come out? So I will be I'll be in Texas. I'm in Texas. Come to the Cap City Comedy Club tomorrow. I'll be in the Red Room at Cap City Comedy Club on October 22nd. And then October 26th, mic drop in Plano, Texas. If you live in the Dallas area or Plano, Texas, well, Plano's in the Dallas area. Specifically Plano, please come out and see me. That is a big room. I got to fill it with some people. Not only so the show is good, but so that they don't hate me at the club. No, they like me there. Then October 29th and November 2nd through November 2nd, I'll be at McCurdy's Comedy Club in Sarasota, Florida. November 6th through the 8th, the Comedy Inn in Miami, Florida. November 12th through 13th, Snappers Comedy Club in Fort Myers, Florida. November 14th and 15th, I'll be at the Sad Man Comedy Cafe in Boca Raton. And November 19th through the 22nd, I'll be at Comedy Key West. And you guessed it, Key West. After that, these should be on my website now. I was waiting to add them. I will be and Black Box Theater in Fort Pierce, Florida. I will be in Winter Haven, Florida at the LOL Comedy Club. That's December 19th through the 20th. Fort Pierce, by the way, is December 13th. And I'll be at Side Splitters in Wesley Chapel. That's just north of Tampa, December 26th through the 28th. And January 2nd to the 3rd. I'm not going to say that yet because that's not confirmed. But I have a lot of other gigs, too. I have like a gig in Punta Gorda, Florida at the Celtic Grand, December 18th. Got a bunch of gigs around like Miami, like Revelry, that's in Pompano, Red Light, Wynwood, Bay Club, Shamrock. If you follow me on Instagram, Forrest Shaw, I post those kind of local kind of gigs and stuff leading up to them as well. But go to my website, forestshaw.net. Check out a bunch of shows. I have shows in January, too. San Diego, Chandler, Arizona. I'm doing a show in Mississippi. That's the one that's not confirmed yet, but I will get back to that. But please go to forestshaw.net. Please come out to a show if you're anywhere in the area. And even if you're not in the area and you know somebody that's in the area, they will have a good time if they come out, I promise. So send them my way. Also, when you're on my website, go to the podcast section. There's a bunch of podcasts I used to be on and the one I'm currently doing right now. I've got a problem. And right on top of that, there's a button that says, I've got a problem donation. If you feel like donating money to the podcast, all the money will go to this podcast. You don't have to. Listen for the rest of your life for free, or as long as I do the podcast, whichever comes first. If you feel like calling up, I have a phone number. It's 305 Joe Rang. That's +1 area code 305, then Joe Rang, RANG. Leave me a text message, a voicemail with a question. I haven't done questions in a while, but people aren't really calling that. So I haven't done that in a while, but I still am going to say it. I'm still going to throw it out there because maybe by the time you've listened to this podcast, it's become the largest addiction podcast in the world. And now you're just catching up from the beginning. And hello, 2029. That'd be good. It's only 4 years away. Welcome from the past. The Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series last year. If you feel like gambling on that, why would I be promoting that? Whoa, what an asshole. Well, maybe you don't have a gambling problem. But thanks for listening. If you haven't already subscribed, comment, rate. Comments are vital to help push the podcast to other people and also helps push the podcast up to be suggested to other people. So please do that, especially on YouTube or Apple or Spotify. Spotify is the only one I didn't have 5.0 on. I haven't checked that in a while, but I will go check that. Probably go and check the comments again at some point in the near future. Other than that, things are going good. Doing the trip. Just going to get straight to the guest today. My guest today is Brittany Lyseng, and she's a really funny comic that is part of the Comedy Records family, which is the record label I'm on, my management group, and they are awesome, and they're Canadian, and so is she, and I think you'll enjoy this episode. If you do, leave a comment. I'll see you on the other side. My guest today is Brittany Lyseng. She is an award-winning stand-up comedian and writer. In November of 2024, she won the Seattle International Comedy Competition, making her the first Canadian female to claim the title in its 44-year history. She's been featured on Kevin Hart's LOL Network, CBC's New Wave of Stand-Up Comedy, CTV's The Stand-Up Show with John Doerr, and her work on Roast Battles Canada was nominated for a 2022 Canadian Screen Award. You can find her at our website, BrittanyLyseng.com, and that is Lyseng is how you spell her last name. And I probably spelled Brittany too, because there's so many. BrittanyLyseng.com. And then has links to all of her socials on there. Thanks for being here, Brittany.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. That's it's weird to hear your own bio.
Yeah,
You're like,
it's the
oh
worst. Yeah.
yeah. It's-
It,
yeah,
it's
thanks for having me on, dude.
yeah. If you're enjoying your own bio, you're a psychopath. If you're like,
You're a
yeah,
psychopath. You're like, hey, I did those things.
I'm
Yeah.
cool.
God, I'm good.
What's your problem?
Oh, me probably. I'm probably my problem. Mostly booze though. Booze and food, I would say, are the two you know, standout ones, I think.
Yeah. And
And a
um
laundry list of other things.
yeah. I mean, I've had people on that aren't addicts because I have like authors and stuff and ask that question. Everyone's got problems. So,
Yeah,
it's, but so drinking booze, you said, and
yeah.
you don't drink anymore. How long has that been? Or,
Well, it's been 3 years, of not drinking, but I never did a program or anything like that. Somebody sent me up a shot on stage one time, I did it in the middle of those 3 years, and I'm not counting it.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just, but it's been 3 years of, like, actively making the choice not to drink. So, yeah, in June, so 3.5 almost.
There might be some people that are very upset with you if they heard that.
I
They're like,
know.
yeah,
I'm not a program guy. I kind of have to. I always have to do everything my own stupid, long, hard way. But it's this way seems to work for me. And just like me choosing not to drink or not having it in my life is I think that's enough for me. I don't need to. Yeah.
yeah. I always say it's about making your life manageable is what it is, and if you're honest with yourself, you know whether that is happening or not,
Mm.
and so I mean, if you were telling me you do like a shot before each show and you're fine,
No,
I don't know
you're
if
like
I'd
no.
believe you if you said you had a problem at one point. You'd be like, yeah, I just do a shot before everything. But
I just do one shot and then I no I it was kind of like a reaffirming thing actually because I thought well it's just one. Like, let's who cares? I'm not doing this isn't, I haven't made this promise to anybody else but myself, and then did it and then was, like, instantly had a headache because it was shit tequila, and then it was it was well tequila, they sent me up, did it, had a headache, felt sick the whole next day, and I was like, "I hate this. I don't wanna do this anymore." So, it was a nice little reaffirming thing, so that would have been about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, so if
that's what I was going to ask you if you felt bad about it, or if you
I
were
did feel bad about it. Yeah, I
like,
kinda just laid awake because I just was like, "For what?" Like and because it wasn't my choice, like, somebody sent it up and, like, I didn't go to the bar and order it, and then it was all those feelings came up again of just like, "Oh, I don't wanna let it," I don't wanna make anybody feel bad, and all I had to say is like, "I don't drink, sorry." But I was like, "What if it wrecks the show and I still got 43 minutes left?"
I was going to ask you how far into the set was it?
Not very far. I just got a face that
Ah,
says, "Let's get fucked up." So people I had a fun face.
yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah, it's because it is a very interesting thing to me about like there are people that are very strict about whether you're sober or not, and that's fine for them. And they could maybe come up to you and say, "Well, you're not. You're. It's been a year and a half. Whatever." Again, I feel
Yeah.
like it's about how you feel because our people, the dry drunks, that term, like
Mhm.
where they're not drinking and they're staying sober, but they're still a piece of shit.
I know you're like,
you
you're
know?
not doing any of the work. You
Yeah.
got this little chip and you're not growing or you're just mad that you're not drinking. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been in.
that's why I do mention it, because I'm like, oh god, there's gonna be somebody that was in that crowd that was like, I saw her a year and a half.
Yeah, I know a guy, and I mean, I haven't seen him in years and years, but when I first went into a room to GA and stuff, and he was just he was just everything by the book, and he was clean, but he was so angry all the time and so upset about everything. I'm like, you are not working on anything.
Well, what are
Um,
you fixing is what
yeah,
I think. What do you
yeah,
fix? What you if you're not, I don't know. I mean,
it's good.
why
It's
do
good.
all
It's part of the steps. I mean,
I
it's one of the,
guess.
not to use the word set. It's one of part of the process. Is like stopping that thing, but also you gotta deal with that. So how did you? So you didn't ever. You just. What did you do? Like, what did you do to? Yeah.
Quit drinking?
Yeah.
Well, I started because I was one of those people for the first year that I was just like, I'm just taking a break. I just need a little break. And then people would be like, are you an addict? And I'd be like, no, I just need a break from booze. And then I would, embarrassed to almost tell people I wasn't drinking. I'm surrounded by a lot of people that's what everyone's doing all the time. So I kind of framed it like that. And then every story I started telling, they were like, "Were you a bad drunk?" And I'd be like, "No, I was a fun drunk." And then I'd tell these stories and I'd be like, "I was not a fun drunk and these are fucked." like like every story was just like I'd end up somewhere at 3 a.m. doing cocaine in the base. And before I had such like telling these stories of being like, and then the craziest thing happened and it was so fun. And then I started hearing the stories different, like a year into
Yeah.
sobriety. And I just was like, these aren't fun these are sad stories you're telling.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize like, oh, you had like a pretty major problem. Like I was never not drinking. Like I was drinking every night. I was going out every weekend, and not drinking was like only having a couple drinks.
Yeah. That's an
So,
interesting thing that maybe people should do that. Like, if you think don't have a problem, just record yourself telling some stories of yourself.
dude, I felt
It,
like it was like that Arrested Development moment of when like Michael tells Tobias, he's like, "Do you hear yourself talking?" And I was like, it just something happened where I heard myself and I was like, you sound like a 16-year-old frat boy,
yeah.
like
Yeah. Cause,
telling these loser stories.
yeah, sometimes you're just watching back your comedy and it's cringy. And that's your comedy that you like are proud of. And you're like, that's a terrible version of that and stuff. So I imagine you're just like, yeah,
Oh,
it's a good
it,
practice. Maybe I should try that.
it is a good practice. So when I I started hearing those stories like that, I just was like, yeah, I think you should focus on why you're getting sober, not that you're taking a little break or, the advancements that you've made in the last, like at that point, it had been about a year when I kind of had that realization and was like, your life is changing in a really positive way. Maybe that was a major problem and there's some work to be done.
Mhm. Now, you on stage talk about building escalators and elevators. Was that like, because you said all the people you hung around with, I immediately thought of that when you said like, it seems like a profession where there's a lot of drinking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, and I know that things have changed because like safety regulations and things like that have come into the future. But like, man, when I started, it was like, not only were we leaving for lunch to get hammered, we were also coming back doing cocaine to sober up. We're like, fuck, the boss is coming.
Okay.
quick,
Which,
quick, do a line.
which escalator should I not get on then? Is that
No, dude, just me inside an escalator, just gacked right out.
holy shit? There must have been some
No, I
bad
mean,
injuries. I'm not saying from that, but just like I just feel like I roofed for a summer. Just think
mhm.
that the reason I brought that, I roofed for a summer and in Florida. And I just remember we would drink immediately when we got up that, like, it was just, it's those really hard manual labor jobs where your body's just hurting at the end of the day and just you're cut up and beat up and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's hard not to drink,
It's
it's,
hard because it's honestly like a bit of a pressure valve situation. Like you do this really hard thing that maybe like I don't know that it's too many people's dreams. Maybe it is, but you it's as soon as it's like this reward program. You're like, okay, we did this hard thing all day long. Now we can go get hammered, you know? And so
yeah.
and the people that stick around and get hammered after work aren't the people with nice families and wives and kids. You know, I'm
Yeah.
picking like 3 divorced dads to hang out with and get shit canned at the end of the shift. So everyone's just trying to drown a problem.
That's what you do with addiction. So I'm a gambling addict. I think you know, but I sought out the people that I knew would gamble with me. You know, like that's who I would like
Yeah.
seek out. And so I dated a dealer, a blackjack dealer,
Well, of
um,
course.
at a casino from here. I met her at this casino in LA, and I was always attracted to her. And then I just one day just asked, saw if she, you know what happened? She came and she was like gambling after her shift. Um, and I said, "You're allowed to gamble here?" Because sometimes they don't let you gamble in the casino. And she goes,
Mhm.
"Yeah." And she just sat down. We had some drinks, whatever. And I was like, "We should go to like this other casino." I said, she goes, "Okay." So then I picked her up, and then we just started dating, and and it was just like it was crazy because sometimes we were uh, like there was a couple times like I'd just be like sitting around with her, and she had this app on her phone that was gambling. It was like a slot app on your phone. And it would annoy the fuck out of me that she was using that. And I'm like, and I'm a compulsive gambler. And I was like,
You're like, "You have a problem."
yeah, yeah. I would literally say that. I was like, you think you gamble to it? And she would just look at me like, fuck you. Like, you're the one
If
to
they
be
ever make a
talking.
movie about your life, it'll be like the "I dated my dealer," the Forrest Shaw story. You just sat
Yeah.
down at a table, some broad fell in love with you in 2 seconds, and then you're like, "Ah, we got a problem."
Yeah. I know. I gambled there for a long time. And I always thought, I just feel like sometimes dealers will flirt with you like the same way a bartender will or something like that, because the tips, it's a tip based, kind of thing.
Keep
So,
you around, keep you hanging
uh,
on.
but anyways, shout out to her. But yeah, it's so, and it doesn't have to be someone's dating too. I was like, you always seek out those people. Divorce dads is hilarious. Like the 3 divorced dads you sit around and
Through me and 3 divorced dads, and also too, like, I mean, I'm a little older now, but I was, like, 21, like, I was, like, just, like, a 21-year-old girl just sitting around getting shit canned with these guys who had, like, not a lot to live for, but I was having fun, you know? I was just
yeah,
like, "Wow, we're having a blast," you know, like, and then I'm just, like, in some shitty bar just being like, who wants to meet me in the bathroom?" Someone's always gonna blow, but I just, like, it was, I don't know. It's bad, you're looking for other people who wanna do the bad thing with you.
yeah,
Like, there's a million times where was, like, drinking, sitting at the end of the bar at, like, some dumpster fire bar and so happy. Just being like,
yeah.
"I'm surrounded by people who are never gonna say shit about anything I'm doing. There's a bad cover band playing, and no one's gonna say I'm being bad," you know?
And then did you ever have like regret, guilt stuff back then, like when you're sober or sort of like what, like, or
Like, regret about all those times? Or,
yeah,
like,
like the next day I'm saying, like you'd wake up and then you
"Oh, yeah," because you wake up and it's like, you're happy in that moment, but then you wake up in reality and you have to face reality, you know? And you don't always wake up in a safe place. So you wake up going like, "What? This is what I'm doing?" Like, this is, and then you have to, I was still always, able to hold on to a job and do whatever. So there weren't these, like, benders that I would go on that I could escape that. Every morning I'd wake up and be like, "You have to be a functioning human now." And then, think it's almo I can compartmentalize things really well, for better or worse. Like, I can just almost keep that over there, like, "Oh, that's just this
yeah,
shitty part of me that exists there." And then, but I'm doing all these other things here. So
yeah.
the guilt wouldn't last very long. It would be like, "Well, now we have to get back to work," you know?
Yeah, mine, I think I did a similar thing where it was always the drive home from gambling, wherever it was, that I would just sit there and just, that would be like my hangover next morning kind of thing where I'm just like assessing all the damage I've done to my life. And then, the next day I would wake up and I was thinking about this the other day. I really like to fix things, like
Mm,
physical things I like to fix, but I also like to solve problems and figure out like a way, or even if it's not like just, we were talking before when I'm going on this long road trip and I like the logistics of things. Fair. So
yeah.
that would be the next morning. It's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and then this and then whatever. And then I'll get my life back on track. And then I just fuck it up again. But I enjoyed
Get
the
it.
fixing part of it. I think that was like a part of my brain, part of the addiction, part of the brain in my brain with the addiction was like, oh, well, that'll be fun because I can do that. And then it just got progressively to a place where I couldn't fix it anymore. Like I didn't have the ability to, you know? So,
Well, that's
um,
the overwhelming. Yeah, that car ride though. I mean, that the alone for a second is
yeah,
like the I don't know. Because you can there's no distractions almost. You're like, "Oh, no, I'm just in here facing this moment by myself,
yeah,
and I can't even escape me." Like, I can't get out of I gotta drive home. I gotta get to the place. Yeah, that's a hard one.
yeah. So you decided you heard these stories in your head and you're like, oh, maybe I have a problem. Got it. So did you just make like a hard stance where you kind of in and out of drinking at the beginning? Or like what did you have a plan? Like what was your plan? Or just like I'm gonna
Well,
stop.
so I had to go it all started because I had to go on this medication, and they asked me how much I drank, and I was like, "A bunch." And they were like and they were like, "Well, you know, that's like you could have 2 to 3 a week," is what they said, and I was like, "2 to 3 a week?" And they were like, "That's normal for what people drink, like, that's as much alcohol as, like, an adult should be consuming, like, a healthy amount." And I was like, Who's going out for 3 drinks?" Is what I thought, and I thought to myself, "I could save them all." Like, I was making all these weird things where I was like, "I could save them all up for Friday, and then I could lie about Saturday," and then I thought I was like, "What the hell? Like, you can't not drink?" And it's like so then I thought, "Well, maybe I'll just try for the first 3 months," and then it became, like, this time thing, like, because 'cause I'm like, I always played sports and everything, so I'm a bit competitive, and it became this, like, competition with myself, like, "Can you do a day? Can you do a week? Can you do a month?" And then when it got to 6 months, I was like, "Holy shit, like, you could do the year." And at that, like, kind of somewhere in that, I had decided, like, well, if you're gonna, like, be off booze, then no weed, no mushrooms, no nothing else, so, um, I immediately started smoking again, though.
Cigarettes, you're saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh," but and then quit again, but it was like yeah. So that's how it started. It became like kind of this little like self-challenge, and then it became a little more so I didn't really have a plan. I have a lot of my brother's been to rehab twice, my a lot of friends in the program and stuff like that. So I would sort of seek advice from them and see how they were doing. And yeah, that's how it started. And then it just kind of became like all my life started getting so much better. So then I was like, and I started growing as a person and was just like, "Oh, I don't know why I would go back. I don't know why I would start drinking again."
Yeah. Yeah, it's the challenge is a good thing. I mean, that's the concept behind like, how many days you have, this, that, whatever. But is the challenging yourself to reach these milestones and these goals and stuff is
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and then that's the interesting thing is even if it's just a week, like stuff for a week, you're like, oh, well, this is better. I feel better, or
Oh, yeah. Well,
I've got
like, that
money in my
horrible
pocket. Yeah,
I've
like
got money, also just, like, I mean, I think it was, like, just very revealing of every like I said, like, it wasn't till, like, a year in of telling those stories and having those realizations that those it was gross, and then, every, like, little bit more time, it was like I grew a little more. I had to figure out how to face problems without just going out and getting hammered. I had to have conversations I didn't wanna have. I had to, like so I was just, like, growing exponentially in this short period that I had not, grown in the previous 35 years, I guess, you know? Like, I felt like I was like, "I have been stunted since I was, like, 16 years old, like, emotionally stunted." So, I had, like I felt like that year was like, "Wow, I have all these goals and all these things," so it just felt like every moment that passed, it was getting better. Yeah.
yeah. What do you do now to like keep it? Because you're years in and stuff. Is it you still see that progress happening? Is that like part of it, or
Yeah, there's never it's not this, like, thing of, like, that I don't wanna give that illusion that you're like, "Whoa, I feel good and better every day." It's like sometimes there's, like you have these moments of, like, you know what would be wicked? if I could just go out and blow off some steam to fix this, or, you know, like all these things. So like being in the shit, sitting in the shit sometimes and just being like, no, I can, this sucks. But like, yeah, I don't know. There's getting out of that shit again is the motivation to keep going, or the thing. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Did you give them a number when they asked? I meant to ask you that when they said how many drinks a week do you have, or did you said a lot?
Not an not an honest one. You know what? And the truth is, which is kind of sadder, I don't think I knew a number.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I used to sit down and put back, like, 7 or 8 pints of beer easy. Get in
Mm.
the car, rip home.
I I couldn't even do. I think I'd be too full for 7 or 8 pints like that.
Oh, you don't get full when it's a bottomless hole. That pit never fills up. Um,
Uh, yeah,
no,
yeah,
I could
true.
just sit, like, and I just grew up like that, man. Like, I don't know if you, like, I mean, I know you've been up here. Have you been up here to Alberta?
Um, I've been briefly, like in the but I think I told you. Wait, what city do you live in again?
Calgary.
Calgary. Yeah, it
Oh.
was. No, it was in Winnipeg where the guy just tried to fight me in a bar.
Oh, yeah,
Like
that tracks.
it was just the middle of the winter. I was doing shows up there with Jim Jeffries, and we went to a bar afterwards. That's when he was drinking, and just some randoms came over, and they didn't like that I was talking to Jim because they were fans of his, and I'm like, I'm with him. I'm like, that would be good. And the
You're
guy
like,
just
"Well,
was like, "Right, you want to go outside?" I was like, "No, I don't." Like
that's a
anyone that wants to
stabby
fight me
city."
in a bar, I'm like, I don't want to. I'm not a fighter. I'm not going to win this. So, but yeah. Anyways,
Um, yeah, Winnipeg, yeah, they'll fight you. They'll bring you out and ask you to. Calgary's like it's a real blue collar place where I'm from. So like everyone's alcohol tolerance is like, it's just part of the culture. It's like we're kind of Texasy. Like we're just like, you know, get back on the, you know. So I most people can sit down and have 10 beer.
yeah,
Like it's not, you're barely keeping up. You're, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's, I could sit there for a long time. And then it's just like, you know, so when they asked me a number, I was like, oh, I mean, only God knows that. Who knows? A bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have the rodeo up there. It's a lot of cowboys. Right, it's kind of Texasy, yeah. And
Yeah, we have the rodeo where it's like oil and gas, it's cattle, and
yeah,
you know, it's just like kind of a similar yeah, similar state of affairs.
I have friends that I don't know how they stayed my friends when because maybe I didn't do stuff directly to them, but just the way I acted, and I didn't spend time with them or anything quality about it or anything like that and stuff. So, did you have friends that like kind of left you, or like ones that you like used? Did, yeah,
That's the problem. Like, no one told me to stop. No one was like, "This is crazy." Like, I was just, I mean, and I've, like, great people in my life, and but my family all drank a ton, and, like, I kinda come from, like, I spent a lot of time, I have a big family, and then all my friends are kind of friends with my family. So it's like, you know, no one, it's somebody's gonna do something way more fucked than you the next night. So you're kinda old news by the next night. And it's like this, it's sort of like this beautiful unconditional love, but it doesn't allow growth. Because, you know, like we all go camping, someone, you know, falls into the fire, someone gets knocked out, you know, like it's always just like this barrage of insanity. And you just never really get pinned down for anything. So, you know, I was doing fucked up shit, but you know, I mean, I can remember like, oh, my poor mom, who I love very much. But she called me one morning. She goes, "Where are you?" And I was walking downtown in a friend's pajamas that I had borrowed because I had puked on mine, and I was like, "Ugh." So I'm like walking downtown. I'm like, she's like, "Where are you? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to find my car. I don't know where I put it." And then she goes, "Oh God, well you better have a Caesar. Come over to the house. I'll make you a Caesar and some breakfast, like a
wait,
Bloody
what's that
Mary,
Caesar? Oh, Bloody
Bloody
Mary.
Mary,
Okay,
eh,
yeah.
but better." Um, like so, like my mom was just like, you know, I'm, like, telling her, like, I'd, like, puked on myself and pissed myself, and I now wearing friend's pajamas, carrying a bag of my clothes that I have to take home and wash, and she's just like, "Get over to the house, we'll make you a Bloody Mary, get you going for the day." So there's just, like, I didn't have a lot of friends or family that was, like, making me responsible for these things, and they never really left, which is wonderful, and I'm incredibly grateful. But it's also never allowed me to be like, that's why I had to come to my own realization like a year into sobriety, being like, this is fucked. Like, what is happening?
And has anyone in like your family like gone sober to like is that like or anyone
Yeah, so
follow?
that's
Yeah.
the my brother started. He had to go to rehab twice. He kind of started off this whole thing, and then I got sober, and then my parents got sober.
Hmm.
Like, they don't drink. And that's been the most that's like sort of this domino effect that my brother started, and now like a couple of cousins and things like that, where everyone's like, "Hey, we had our fun, but it wears out." And like, what if the next generation, because I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and like, what if this next generation doesn't have to be like this? They don't have to come to this realization. What if we just like all raise great kids as a
Hmm.
family instead of just being like, so it did sort of start this domino effect, I think, whether my brother was aware of it or not. And then now that my parents aren't drinking, it's like it's changed the whole dynamic of our family. Like, so we were always having fun, but now we're just like, at midnight, the gremlins don't come out.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's still one
Pretty
uncle
cool.
though, right? That's probably still like
Oh, yeah, there's
yeah.
still one uncle. Oh, yeah. Still 8 uncles.
Falling into the fire, the campfire. I can't get that image,
Oh,
but it's such a good.
well, we all go down to this campground, down in Montana, down for us, up for you. But it's like, there's like 60 of us down there. Like, everyone got like a seasonal spot. Everyone's got their trailers set up. My dad calls it the poor man's like cottage country. And it's like everyone's there's 60 people there. So it's all our like friends and my parents' friends from when they were kids, and like everyone stay together, but it's one giant party. So it's like, whoever's, you know, it's an all day affair. You wake up in the morning, you start drinking, you have Caesar, Bloody Mary, or whatever, and you get on the pontoon boat. You sit on the pontoon boat all day long, play cards, drink, go for a couple hammered skis.
You know, just
Somebody's uncle forgets you're back there. Like, it's crazy. And then it goes all night long, and then it's a party until like 2, 3 in the morning, and it lasts all summer long. Like, it's so people fall into the fire. People get knocked out.
you're lucky. That's all that happens. You're on a ski boat with a propellers on on a boat. Like someone just gets left to drown. Like
Yeah, watch your legs. But that's
it's
what I mean, is it's like all one big out of hand thing since I was a kid.
yeah. Um, that's an interesting thing about I do a lot of this stuff on this podcast where I think about different addictions and that there's perils and pitfalls of every addiction, but some are worse than others. And that's definitely one with alcohol. Maybe drugs too, but definitely alcohol. Alcohol is such a social drug, you know? It like you're always gonna no one's like just like, hey, I shouldn't say nobody, but no one's ever like no one's ever like gonna cure a bad day of gambling or like just going out gambling by gambling again. But your
Yeah.
mom hit you up is like, you need a Bloody Mary. Like you're like,
You know what
yeah,
you need? Oh my god,
yeah,
you're in your 30s and you're walking around in piss pants? Let me make you a Bloody Mary.
yeah.
That's
Keep this
crazy.
train going. Yeah, hair of the dog. You know how it is.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
no
and
hair of the dog. Yeah,
the whole reason she was calling was she was like, "Well, you need to go pick up your sister, and I need a favor from you. So let's get you back on the horse so we can get back to we got shit we got to do." And that's kind of where the like whole thing would get out of hand, was like, yeah, you drank, you fucked up, whatever. But we've got shit to do. So like, get back on the horse. There's no time for feeling sorry for yourself. There's no time to that's kind of what I meant by when I was like bringing up like where I'm from. It's like that real blue collar attitude of like, there's no time to think about this. We have work to do. There's holes to dig. Like, let's go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that goes back to what we were saying about like your job. I used to have like all the jobs that I've had that were like really blue collar, manual labor kind of stuff. There's not that there's people are abusing drug alcohol in every job. I'm just saying, but it
No.
lends itself to that in those kind of professions.
Oh, I mean, even like I would show up, like, we used to have, like, we'd had this big construction site, we were all building elevators, and they had, like, one of the elevators, and we had it all, like, so they're not built yet, there's no one there using them or whatever, but we had one cordoned off so that you could go sleep off a hangover in. So not only was it was like being like, that's their version of being like, "We'll take care of you." Like, "Oh, you showed up puking? Here, go sleep in this elevator, we'll come wake you up if the boss comes." Like, we had pillows and blankets in there and stuff. It's like at a construction site, someone would come and wake you up for lunch and be like, "Oh, man," you're like, if they needed you to help with something 50 stories in the air, they'd come wake you up and be like, "All right, put a harness on, let's go." You're like, "I don't know, I'm still puking." They're like, "I know, but we need an extra set of hands, so let's get to it."
Yeah, I had a job where there was times where I did stuff that I shouldn't have done. Like those same thing. You know what? There was a job I had where I worked at at a facility where there was dolphins and sea lions, and some of them were rescued, and they would work with kids. There was like a swim program there, but there was also like kids with disabilities and stuff. They would come in, like special autistic kids and stuff. The dolphins would recognize that they had some sort of developmental disability because they could literally
Oh,
scan their brains. Like they can
that's
scan your
so
body and see, like,
cool.
and so they would treat them different, like in gentler ways, and work. Is amazing. Like when you see that, it
That's the
it's
coolest
just,
thing I've ever heard.
yeah. So there's there's your brain is developed differently if, like, with autism, let's say, for instance, or whatever, or like even if I remember there was a kid that had no use of the right side of his body, so all of the muscles had atrophied on that side of the body, and so the dolphins had seen that, so they would go up with their rostrums, what you would call a nose, but they go up and they would like move. They would touch very carefully, gently move their arms and their legs that way because they could see that that side of their body had some sort of issue. Yeah, there was a dolphin there, named Nikki, and the first time I ever went in the water, and I was like with she like we just had like you just kind of bond with one of them, and I wasn't there for years, and then I came back and I had a plate in my arm, a metal plate from where my arm was broken, and all she did was come by and scan that arm like the whole time, like, because she knew, like, that's not only is there something in there, it's not supposed to, but that's something new, and that didn't used to be there. Is this okay? Like,
Dude,
bananas.
that's beautiful. That's the
Yeah.
coolest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. I say all that to say, like, sometimes we'd show up and somebody would have a hangover. Somebody would have a hangover, and
I
they
say all
would,
that to say, we drowned one of those kids.
no, no, nobody showed up drunk. Nobody showed up drunk. But you'd still have this hangover, and like there's scuba tanks in there, and a normal scuba tank has just what is normal air, which is 22% oxygen. I think it's 22 or 21% oxygen, then mostly nitrogen and colors. But then there's another one called nitrox, which is oxygen enriched, and you can go deeper and stay down longer because there's less nitrogen in it. And I usually they would be like in the 30 percentiles of oxygen, but oxygen helps with the hangover. So like sometimes you come in and there'd be somebody in like the dive cage, whatever, and they'd just be sitting there, like just breathing. I'm like, long night, huh? That's what I thought I
That's
would.
such a
Yeah.
funny, like, unique moment of, like, sea lion. Yeah, I don't know, that's very funny to picture.
Yeah. I don't even know why I said the nice. I'm like, this is really a cool place to work. Anyways, there's some drunks now. Far as I
No,
know,
it's
everybody there was on the up and up. So, um, actually, no, I failed a drug test there. What am I talking about? But it was for like marijuana, which wasn't legal yet then, and so that was embarrassing. Huh.
you're like, "Oh, that's crazy too." You're like, "Wouldn't that's the guy you want, like, a little relaxed and high, like, around all the dolphins and sea lions and"
No, I'd never. When I would go there, I would never
Oh, it's
be.
just in your
I
bloodstream.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you smoke pot, that's the thing is I don't even. I've never been like. There was a moment in my life in college, like where I was a big pot guy, but um, I I would sell pot in college and stuff too. I'm saying all these things I can probably, if they listen to this podcast, it's like we're taking you to court. All these things.
Do
Um,
you know what I like? I worry about this stuff too, but I mean, there's statute limitations and stuff, but
yeah,
there
this is I'm
and it's not
so
even
far.
illegal anymore. But, I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
we yeah,
the
that was,
state,
like, the times when, like, you people were selling pot, like, how, like, sketchy it all was. My brother used to sell pot. We used to drive around in this little, like, red car, and we'd put it in CD cases, like, empty out CD cases, and then just give people
yeah,
CDs.
yeah, yeah. I had was in college. I had a cell phone, but this was back. I'm old, so cell phones weren't really a thing. I had the big brick phone, like the
What?
one you would call an airstrike in Vietnam, like one of those, and
Yeah.
I was driving around in a 1977 Dodge Aspen with a brick phone and dark tints with Florida tags in New York and in Central New York, and I was like, this is a huge red flag. But yeah, so
Just a heat score.
but that was a big weed era for my life. Other than that, I really, even when I failed that drug test, I might have smoked pot a couple weeks before that or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like just at a party
Yeah.
or something. It just hasn't been a big thing, but it stays in your system. I want to say almost it could stay up to a month versus the harder drugs like coke, crack, heroin. Like I think it's like 3 days, and I'm like, I know that's just the way it works, but it should work the other way. Like, like the
I know,
cocaine.
this is the thing. Like, the cocaine thing is, like, that's why there's also a lot of, like, mines up here, like, coal mines and, like, and then also a lot of, like, oil and gas, like, you go up to the rigs and everything to
Yeah,
work, and they're all drug tested, but cocaine goes through your system, so you very rarely get caught for cocaine. So instead of, like, people just smoking weed to, like, unwind, it's created this huge cocaine problem in all of these places because it's the only drug they can do without getting in trouble. And I'm like, "Man,
it's
you
so
guys didn't
crazy.
think this one through."
Yeah, it's just the way our body processes it. I guess it stays in your fat cells, the weed or something like that. But
It also stays in your hair follicles too, because there was a
yeah,
hot second where I wanted to be a cop, whatever that moment was. In, like, grade 12, I was like, "Maybe I'll be a cop." And, they were, like, telling me all the things, like, they're like, "Yeah, can't have any drugs in your system, like, marijuana stays in your hair follicles and stuff, and they'll test your hair," and I was like, "Oh, man.
yeah. There was a time
Loser
when
brigade."
pilots would be allowed to drink. Like there was a time when pilots could just like sit at a bar in an airport and drink before they got on a plane. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't legal, but they did it. I don't know. And then there was like something. I might be having revisionist history on this, but I just remember that pilots drinking was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that was, like, a problem, right? Like, they were always finding drunk pilots in the air.
Yeah, and let me see. Were they allowed to drink? That's not what I wanted to ask. Bottle to throttle rule. Requires pilots to stop consuming alcohol at least 8 hours before a flight.
Oh, man, if they had to make up a funny saying for it, it was a problem for sure.
Yeah, some
Bottle to
have
throttle.
strict, um, did they used to be? Yeah, I don't know. There that movie with Denzel Washington, did you ever see that? It's called Flight.
Yeah, I love that movie. John Goodman comes in with the to wake him up with all the coke.
Oh, yeah, he's got all this stuff. Like, that was such a great portrayal of an alcoholic, I thought. But
Yeah, of, like, this totally, because it's, like, this thing of, like, it's a means to an end. Like, that's how I think you start thinking sometimes with, like, oh, like, "I get drunk to do this," and then it spirals out of control, and then it's like, "Well, quick, I gotta fix it," and it was a good yeah, it's frighteningly accurate.
yeah, so this says in the early 1960s, accident investigations in the early 1960s highlighted that alcohol consumption was a contributing factor in a significant number of fatal aviation crashes. Um, Before this period, there wasn't a clear prohibition against flying while under the influence of alcohol. So I'm sure it was like discouraged. Like they weren't like, go get hammered, but there wasn't like, it's like anything. There's just like, there's never any rules when something comes around. I mean, the internet's a great
Well,
example. We
yeah.
still don't have rules in the internet now, but then eventually, like, all right, we better start doing this. But
We gotta rein this in. Things are getting out of hand. Also, too, there is this part of me that, like, I'm absolutely romanticizes drinking and being a drunk and all of these things. Like, there's still this part of me that goes, fun. Like, you know, thinking like, what a fun era to live in where no one questioned all of the bad things you were doing and you could just kind of get away with them and people were like, it's all bad, but if you existed in it, you wouldn't have known. People must have had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's one of the so in doing this podcast, the quote unquote war stories, of like your addiction days, there's some people think that those are detrimental to an addict's recovery, like just but it's because if you're romanticizing it or kind of glorifying it, you're like, well, it's bad because then it's kind of leading you down this path. But I kind of come from the school of thought, like where we started this podcast, where you said, I started retelling these stories of myself in my head. And I was like, oh, this is not good. I think that's where the benefits come from. And when I have gone to meetings, stuff like that, when somebody new comes in and they're telling me some horrific story, they're telling the group some horrific story. That's therapeutic always to me. I mean, there's a bit of, obviously you're like, in your head what that is. So yeah, anyways.
There's a bit of where there in the beginning there was shame to tell those stories, then have that realization that they were gross. Now I have a bit of pride knowing that like, wow, I've come a long way, and I don't feel that great shame anymore for those moments. I'm like, well, that's who I was, and I've grown, and cool.
Yeah.
Instead of getting locked up in this like, "Oh, no." But it does I think it is therapeutic to get it out. I mean, that's what we do for a living, really. We're comics, we're on stage, that's how I deal with things, talking about them.
That's what I was gonna say is maybe we're unique to that because when you're a comedian, it's like you're going on stage and you know, that's part of the allure of comedy is making these terrible or inconvenient or embarrassing moments funny and relatable and yeah, that's
Yeah.
what you're doing.
It is what you're doing, and I think sometimes when you say those things out loud, I mean, there's a benefit to other people too. Like, you go like, "Hey, like, this is what I did. This is crazy. I'm okay. You're okay. We'll be fine." Like, that's a part of comedy too, I think people forget about is, like, it's laughing. You're bringing up these things, but a lot of times you say these things and you talk to people after and they're like, yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know anybody else had experienced that, or it feels good to hear somebody else say it out loud." So, like, all these people that don't go to meetings or don't understand that part of, like, it's this weird thing that it's like a little yeah, it's like this little extra gift.
That's why I started this podcast, honestly, because I had thought about it for a while, and then I just had too many people coming up to me after meetings, after a show and just saying, "Oh, thanks for talking about it on stage." That was like, I'm not a gambler, but have struggled with alcohol or pills or cocaine, and so it just was good to like hear somebody talk about that in a public setting. And then I had people that would contact me and through Instagram or email or whatever. And so I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So that's the way I look at it. I know that again, this seems to be a running theme about this is like what is right and what is wrong with addiction. But I think it's like whatever you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable hearing those things or saying those things, then just don't do them. Like yeah,
Well, and also I've never been a structure guy. I just, like, I don't know, like, I understand that works for some people, and I understand that, like, people like good and bad and right and wrong, and, my brain's never worked like that. So I think you have to find what's good for you, what's right for you, make peace with that. If you're okay with what you've decided, then that's what it is.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
someone else's rule and the way they do things might not work for somebody else, you know?
I was going to say, speaking of structure, now is when I'm going to ask you 8 questions.
Yeah, I like little structure. I'm such a
Structure of this podcast. 8 lucky questions I ask all of my guests that are addicts on this podcast. I sent them to you ahead of time. If you didn't read them, that's fine. But if
I
you did,
did read
great.
them. I thought
All
about them, I
right.
read them.
What's a small thing someone did that helped you more than they know?
It's a collection of small moments, I think, of people, like, maybe me not telling everybody I was getting sober or whatever, when they would notice changes, and they'd be like, "Wow, you've lost a lot of weight," or, "Wow, you look good," or, "God," they'd come over and see my house was clean and be like, "You're really" like, it's just like they didn't know, but they were acknowledging all these changes that I had made, I think was probably the biggest thing, 'cause all those little small things were like, "Oh, it's working." Yeah.
Yeah, it does help. And I always remember to say that to other people. Like, I mean, the weight thing, like you said, because I've been losing weight this year. And um last night I did a show and just a guy that I had seen, a comic that I had seen, I want to say it was in June or July, was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right. And it just makes you, not only feel good, but also just be like, well, I got to keep doing this. You know, I got to keep going forward with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the weight thing's huge because it just means because the weight thing's a result of all those problems that are, connected in the same way. So it's like when someone goes like, "Did you lose fucking 30 pounds?" You're like, "Yeah, I've been such a
Yeah.
good girl." So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's good to hear those things, I think.
Yeah. And even if it's someone just like, oh, how long's it been since you had a drink? You know, if it's 4 months, 4 years, even if it was 4 days, like, all right, good for you. Cause I mean, that's the accomplishment, you know, and that's
That's the
yeah.
thing you're striving when it's noticeable on the outside and when they're not provoked sort of interactions, when they're just like, "Wow, you're doing really good. What's changed?" And you're like, "A lot's changed, actually." It's really cool to see that it's coming through.
Yeah. Compliments are good to give them and receive them
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever bad, you know, unless
No.
you are, you know,
Unless you're
listening
like,
to listening to your own bio be read to you at the beginning of a podcast, and it's
or don't tell the waitress she has huge tits. That is what it sounds like a compliment, but
that's not a that
it's not a
that
compliment.
I don't know if that's a compliment. Like it's just a fact.
It's just a I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but you have huge tits.
Wow. Thanks for telling me that. I didn't notice that they were on my body, but
Wow, thank you so much. So are you gonna settle up now or?
what song best describes your addiction?
Oh, I've been listening. Oh, that's always changed. This is a hard one because music's a big one for me. So I was like, "You're gonna say one song," but you know what? I've been playing over and over again, Tom Petty's "Square One," and it's a cool. I don't know. It makes me. It's where I'm at right now. I feel like I'm kind of like starting fresh always, and like the lyrics are like, it's taken a long time to get to this place to get back to square one, but I'm like happy being here. So yeah, I'd say Tom Petty "Square One."
Cool. I don't know if I know. I think I only know famous Tom Petty song, like, you know, radio
It
play
came
one.
up
I
in
don't
a
know.
shuffle thing, like, it had no connection I had no connect that's why I had a hard time picking that song because I was like, "I don't have any connection to this song other than I've just heard it 300 times in the last, like, 2 months for some reason." It's, like,
Is it
in
an
my
old one?
shuffle.
It's an
It's an
older
old one.
song? I mean, I know he's
Yeah,
dead now, but I'm just saying, like, he has
it's a new one.
a yeah, he has a wide catalog, you know? So, uh,
It's I love that about Tom Petty, you, like, will stumble upon something. There's a lot of those great artists, like, but you stumble upon something that you're like, "Oh, this is just, like, 7 albums deep at the bottom of something that" and the song's still that good. You're like, "And no one knows this song?"
yeah,
Cool.
he was pretty amazing. From Florida, another Floridian
F
from
There's
Florida.
a cool stat with him where, like, he had so many songs at one point that he was just giving them to other artists, and, like, the top 20, like, Billboard had, like, 10 of his songs that he had written on it, like, all in the top 20.
Yeah, I saw that documentary. It was with, James Iommi. It was the one where they had, like, Dr. Dre and him. I think I'm saying his name right, Iommi or,
I'm not sure.
um, and he was a music producer. He just started, I think, at, like, maybe at Electric Ladyland or one of the studios in New York, just, like, sweeping floors and then started work but he worked with Tom Petty right when Damn the Torpedoes was coming out, but he also was working with, Stevie Nicks, and so they did that duet, "Stop Dragging My Heart Around" or whatever, and then there was a
Huh.
song that he gave her that he didn't really necessarily was gonna give to her, but he's like, "Hey, I don't think you're using that song," and I can't remember what song it was, but it became a huge hit, and they released both albums at the same time, and damn, it was doing better than his own album, that single, you know, and he was like, "Well, I that's my song too," but yeah.
That's really cool. I know, I love all that old, rock and roll junkie.
I almost explained that with enough detail to where you could tell it to somebody else, but not really. You'd have to watch the documentary. It's like, there was another song where something happened. I don't remember. Anyways, why did
Dude,
I
I
even say
blamed you.
this? Yeah, what a waste of
I
everybody's
was
time.
locked
That's where
in.
I was. Yeah. Uh, what's the dumbest excuse you've ever told yourself to justify your addiction?
Oh, I mean, just that sort of repetitive voice that is just like this one I thought about a bunch because I was like, I always feel dumb about the times I would drink because I felt like I was making somebody else comfortable. To be like there's so many moments where somebody's like, "Oh, you're not gonna get one?" And I'll be like, well, yeah, I'll have another one." I even do that with non-alcoholic beers. I did it the
Yeah.
other night. I didn't want like fifth non-alcoholic beer. I'm gonna have diarrhea. This is crazy. But it was like we were sitting around and everyone's, and I like just did it again, and I kind of left being like, it doesn't matter that there's no booze in there. It's the same muscle. It's the same thing of like this, like, it'll make everybody comfortable if I just have one.
I'm not a big drinker, and I do that sometimes too. Sometimes everyone orders a drink, and like you're out to dinner, and you're like, yeah, I guess I'll have wine. I mean, I don't even like wine, but I'm trying to be social. But if you're an addict, then it's just even easier to just fall into that. So,
Yeah,
uh,
you kind of get like locked up in it, and then so and then that becomes the excuse. It's like, well, everyone else was doing it. It's like you're a little kid again. It makes you feel dumb.
what do you think is the worst addiction?
Oh man, I fentanyl looks insane. Like these like drugs that just like turn you into a zombie. Like I think it steals your soul. Like I watch people walking around and I'm just thinking like it's corrupted their soul, their being, their essence. There's nothing. They're not even in there anymore. I'm like, and I always think, how do you get out of that? How do you? You'd need someone to do it for you.
Is fentanyl a big problem in Canada too? Is it?
Yeah, it's like like it's Toronto, Vancouver are bigger for that. Like, but it's a huge problem. I mean, all the opioid people, all the heroin people became fentanyl people
Yeah.
because it was cheaper, easier to get higher quicker. And I mean, I have friends that are paramedics that'll be like, yeah, we've revived the same guy like 3 times one day. So it's
Yeah. But,
crazy. Yeah, I think that's a hard one. I mean, I don't know everyone's, and there's different stages of addiction and different things mean different things to other people, but I'm like, physically that looks like the hardest.
yeah. 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 It's there's no wrong answers to these, so they're your answers. So yeah, it's
I
yeah, that's the one. Isn't that's what's the one? I'm not even familiar as much where people are just stuck. They're like bent over. That's fentanyl,
That's
right? They're just
fentanyl. Yeah,
like at
their
the waist,
spines
they're
get
just kind of like bent over and just frozen at the waist, right? It's just fentanyl.
it's although I did see somebody recently on PCP, and I didn't even know people were still doing PCP, and
That's
that's
like
the
an alt
scariest.
drug. Yeah,
Yeah,
PCP is like throwback. It's like an 8-track cassette. You take out PCP. Yeah.
it's a disassociative. So you're like, so I was at this music festival, and I was he was on PCP. He climbed up onto a food truck and then fell through the tent into a vat of butter chicken.
What, like frying or no? It's already cooked or
It was like hot, like a
oh
cauldron of butter chicken, like the big,
Jesus,
poured it onto himself and then stuck his head in the fire.
what?
I was like, because I was working on my friend's food truck this like a couple years ago, 2 years ago, and she was like, "Do you want to come work on my food truck? We're at this like big music festival." So I was just like, "Yeah, that'll be fun," and was in the back. I was in the back cooking, and he was like maybe like 5 feet away from me, and and then we found out it was PCP because you can't feel anything.
I wonder where. So I just pulled it up, so I'm reading about it. Phencyclidine, dangerous hallucinogenic and dissociative street drug, also known as angel dust. It says it was developed in the 50s for IV anesthetic, but was discontinued for human use. Oh, so there's probably still like an animal
Animal
kind
use
of thing.
for it.
Yeah,
It
animal
was the
PCP.
craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like, "Oh my god." So then we were asking the paramedics later, we're like, "Did you whatever happened to Butter Chicken Guy?" And they were like, "Butter Chicken Guy?" And they were like, "The guy who fell through the tent." And they were like, "Oh, Tongue Guy." And we were like, "What do you mean Tongue Guy?" And
Wow.
they're like, "He bit his own tongue off." So PCP maybe.
Yeah, let's redo your answer. I'm not even going to ask the
PCP
question
sounds
anymore. That
wild.
question's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
retired. It's PCP.
Just PCP is not good.
I know who's doing PC. Like man, I've been around a lot of I've been concerts and raves, and I used to live in Miami and got out to the club scenes there and stuff. And people are always like, "Oh yeah, I did a little bit of ecstasy, I did some ketamine, I did cocaine, whatever." I've never heard anyone be like, "Yeah, a little bit of angel dust tonight."
Just PCP and whippets, and like you guys are getting
Oh, I'm
you're
getting
getting out of
dizzy just
hand.
talking about it. Yeah,
To me too. makes me
man.
makes me itch.
What's your proudest moment in recovery so far?
I think when my parents decided to just get on board as well, because I felt like in like an the bit of narcissism there, but I was like, they've seen so much of a difference that they're like, well, maybe if it's this good on this side of things, maybe we all just give it a break. So yeah, I'd say like my parents kind of being like, hey, it was a really cool
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'll start with your brother, you said too, which is like such a
It all started with my brother, which I had this like really cool moment where like he lives out in this like little mountain town. And he's always like, let's go for a walk or whatever like that. So we're kind of like out in the woods and everything, and we're just hanging out, and he was like, I just like had a chance to thank him, and I was like, you've made this whole, like, you went through this in the craziest way. Like he almost lost a job, he lost a house, he had to go to rehab twice, and like all that like meant something for everyone else. So like that felt really cool because like it was like this moment of like getting to thank him in a organically. It wasn't like a written letter. We were just like kind of in a unique space together, and yeah, that felt pretty cool.
yeah. Well, crying.
Was I crying?
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying it seems
Yeah.
like a crying moment, like a nice
Like,
good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
That's
no, I
nice.
don't cry. I'm not a sissy. No,
Right.
I cry all the time. I can almost never stop. No, it was really a beautiful. It was like, we were both crying, and we were like, having this like, it looked like we were breaking up, but we're just like brother and sister thanking each other for something.
Some people are just hiking by you. It's like,
Literally.
so
And then
this
I sucked
couple
him
in an
off.
argument.
It was like a crazy night. I didn't cut that out.
Uh, what's the wor-
No, it was beautiful.
uh, What's the worst advice someone gave you while you were struggling?
I mean, I don't wanna even out who it was because I wouldn't ever want them to make them feel bad, but he said, "You know, if you're so hung, you know what your problem is you're not drinking enough. Like, you gotta keep it steady so you're never hungover. Like, always just have, like," he's like, "I like to have a whiskey and then a couple of beers, never more than that. It just keeps it so the next day is always," and I was like, "That's the worst." Even in the moment, I was like, "That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Don't tell people that."
Even as a raging alcoholic, this is not good advice.
I had a drink in my hand while he was telling me, and I was like, poured it out. I was like, that's where
That sounds like that's like the Jack Daniels advertising campaign from the 50s. It's just like what you need to do is just keep drinking.
he was standing in front of like a Camel cigarette background while he was telling me. I was like, this is insane. Like, it was also someone, I mean, it was an uncle. Like, he's like, I'm like, to him, I should be a child in his eyes. And he was like, you just have a couple of drinks every night, smooth it over.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow,
And what
worst
advice do you
advice.
have for what advice do you have for someone that is struggling?
Um, that there's this whole other side of like your life that's waiting for you, and you deserve it. Like, there's this like whole other cool part that you are not experiencing right now that you don't think exists, and it does exist, and like it's gonna be wicked. So try. And there's
Awesome.
millions of us. Like, I think you feel so isolated when you're and shameful when you're doing these things. You're like, you're not the only one. There's lots of community. There's lots of people you can talk to, and yeah, I guess that.
Yeah, awesome. Good, good times. All right, Brittany, thanks for being here again. Check out
Thanks,
Brittany.
buddy.
She is hilarious. Like, just you gotta she's anywhere near you, go and watch her live. If not, there's plenty of clips, I guess, on your website, right? You can find all that kind of stuff on there. Brittany, buy her album, Comedy Records. Get her album. People buy albums, listen to the album, stream it, do something. But follow her on Instagram, TikTok, go to her website. It's Brittany Lyseng. I'll spell it again. I realize I spell everybody's name on this podcast, and it just occurred to me that you can just look at your phone or the YouTube channel. It's BRITTANYLYSENG. Don't know why I'm spelling it. Just look at your phone. It's right there, unless I've misspelled it, but I don't think
No,
I triple checked it.
that's perfect.
Thanks for being here, Brittany.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks again to Brittany Lyseng for being on the podcast. Love talking to her. And make sure you follow her and check her out. She's really funny. And if you are feeling shitty, you're feeling down, you're feeling suicidal, you're feeling like you might harm yourself, there are people out there that will help you. Suicide and crisis hotlines in the US, 988, Canada, 988. Go to the Wikipedia page, list of suicide crisis lines that has a list of crisis lines, crisis and helplines by country. You know what? I haven't been there in a while. Wikipedia crisis lines. Maybe they've updated them. Maybe some of these countries have been getting the memo. There's Algeria. Algeria's doing okay. You can just dial 17 and or 1548, the national police numbers. Oh no, their suicide hotline in Algeria is terrible. 0021-3983-200058. What the fuck? Argentina, 911. All right, Argentina. They got 3 digits. Should have been promoting them. Armenia's got 3 digits. 112 and 911 are the national emergency numbers in Armenia. I guess they would patch you through. Wait, in Australia, why have I not even said Australia before? Australia says 000 and comma 112 and 106 are the national emergency numbers in Australia. I don't know if that. Oh no, I do have Australia's. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've said it many times. Lifeline is their crisis, and it's 13, 11, 14. It's not bad. So, but you know where I'm going. I'm going to go see if Germany's done any work on their number. I don't think they have. I was hoping somebody. No. To be fair, they have a national emergency number that's 112, but the international helplines, there's just something in German that I can't even read. But how about this one? It says Telefonsinglorge 24/7 at no cost. You can dial 0800-111-0111. Get the fuck out of here. So some countries are crushing it. This is something that should be universal, It should just be 988 around the world. 911 should be the emergencies, 988 universal. Greece is doing pretty good. They got a lot of short numbers. 1018 suicide hotline in Greece. Not bad, Greece. Not bad. 134 is the national crisis number of Greenland. Why wouldn't it be 123? Come on. This one's not bad. All right. Anyways, I'm not going to keep going on and on. Germany. Love bagging on Germany. Anyways, thanks for being here. I'll talk to you guys next week. Love y'all.